Welcome to I Want to Make. I haven't posted for a while, so I just wanted to show this quick project that I did. It uses flexible RGB panels that I've been wanting to play with for a while. And so I coded this to show a trans flag and a rainbow flag, and it also says Happy Pride. And then I built this simple foam float. It's for these mini floats for an event that we were doing at work. It's using Arduino. And I just made these two little stops so that I can turn this into a physical rainbow for our event. Most of this was done with coding, so I'll show you some of the code that I had to figure out, and let's get started. So RGB LEDs can quickly use up a lot of current. Each one of these is capable of 60 milliamps if it was at full brightness at white. And times 512, that's 30 amps of current, which is like more than my outlets provide. But you can control the brightness in software. So I started with a 10 amp power supply and did some experimenting, and then wrote in the code to switch it to not use all the pixels, or if I am using the pixels, not use all the brightness. And it's just 5 volts, and I switched it to just a normal cell phone power brick, and it's not getting too hot and seems to run fine. So I think this will be fine just with the power brick. So each board has an input and an output, and it only uses 3 wires, 5 volts, ground, and data. So here's the input, and then it goes to the output. And then I wired, these cables weren't long enough, so I had to add some wiring to go from this board's output to the input up here. And then I'm not even using this output or these additional 5 volt and ground rails. And we're just using a Arduino Mega, or a knockoff of it. I think the Megas probably are necessary to have more power, more memory for the 512 pixels. So Adafruit has a bunch of libraries for NeoPixels that are super helpful. I'm just using the simple one, and you just have to pick the right pin that you're using. I'm using pin 6, which is the default for most of theirs. And I'm just running this strand test where it's just turning on the pixels one at a time, just to make sure that everything's wired correctly. And this is actually really helpful because it's turning on pixel 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, etc. And so you can see how this panel is wired. It's in a zigzag pattern, and that'll be helpful later. If you have trouble connecting to your NeoPixels, one of the things that can be a problem is even when you turn off power, the Arduino is just running these off of the USB power, so it's basically kind of backfeeding to the pixels. So I'm actually going to unplug the pixels, and then now all I have is the data going to the Arduino, and so sometimes that helps upload your code to the Arduino. Adafruit also has example Neo matrix libraries, including a tile test for tiling 2 panels together, which is what I want. But when I try this example code on pin 6, you can see it's only doing the top panel, and it seems to be going horizontal or something. So we got to figure out what's going on in the code. So looking at these helpful comments, for the matrix declaration, the number 1 parameter is the width of each NeoPixel matrix. So these are 32. The height is the second parameter. The number of matrices arranged horizontally is 1, so I've got them on top of each other. The number of rows is 2. The data pin is pin 6. And then these other flags turned out, so most of them were okay. So Neo matrix top is correct, Neo matrix left is correct for the first pixel, and then it is a zigzagging pattern in terms of the wiring, but I had to switch Neo matrix rows to Neo matrix columns. So now it's working. It's just the test. I thought it was just using this top panel at first, but it turns out that it's just where the text is set. So if I find that text saying X and then Y is 0, so let's say I say like row 6, to move the text down a little bit, then it will use both panels. So this is working correctly. So this is my code. It's based on that example sketch. Sets it up correctly. And then it says text, happy pride. I found when I had a space, it didn't have enough letters, so it happens to wrap at happy, so that works for my purposes. And then for the trans flag, I'm just displaying 5 rectangles on top of each other and figured out the RGB values in Photoshop. And then the pride flag, which is very similar with different colors, I had to tweak some of the colors just because it didn't totally match what I thought like red or orange looked like. And then that's it. So now it works okay. Thanks for watching I Wanna Make.